Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to tear into a whole stack of sources, articles, research notes, you name it, all focused on this incredible, explosion of AI product launches and feature announcements, specifically from that last week of May 2025.
Yeah, that period, say May 22nd to the 30th, it was intense. Our sources kept calling it an unprecedented wave. And a lot of that, lined up with big developer events like Google I/O and Microsoft Build. Huge drivers.
Right. So our mission here in this deep dive is pretty simple. Cut through all that noise. We want to pull out the really important nuggets from the sources you've gathered and help you get a handle on what actually happened and maybe more importantly, why it matters. Think of it like your shortcut to getting up to speed on some genuinely pivotal moments in AI right now.
Exactly. It was just packed. Everything from, deep technical stuff on reasoning to big shifts in how businesses might use AI. Even some massive partnership deals came out that week.
Okay, let's jump in then. Let's unpack this whirlwind week. Maybe we can start with Google. Specifically, Google I/O 2025. The sources really highlighted something new for Gemini 2.5 Pro called Deep Think Mode. What is that? Why was it such a big deal?
Yeah, deep think. What's really interesting is how they're framing it. It's not just like another feature. They're describing it as a fundamental shift in how the model approaches reasoning. It's experimental, right? But it basically lets Gemini pause its normal flow and instead evaluate multiple potential answers or paths at the same time. It reasons in parallel.
Parallel reasoning. So like thinking about several possibilities at once to find the best solution. That feels different from just, step by step. Is there a good way to picture that?
Well, one source used the AlphaGo analogy, the AI that mastered Go. AlphaGo wasn't just looking one move ahead, it was exploring countless strategies in parallel. That's kind of the idea here. The model looks down multiple paths simultaneously to land on a better, more reasoned outcome. And, the results seem to back it up. We saw some impressive performance jumps. It scored competitively on the 2025 US Math Olympiad, and now it leads the Web Dev Arena leaderboard. ELO score of 1415.
Wow, okay. Scoring on a Math Olympiad and topping a Web Dev benchmark? That definitely points to some broader reasoning power. And Google Search itself got a major update too, right? This AI mode.
It did, yeah. And this is probably the change most users will see directly. AI mode is rolling out across search, powered by Gemini 2.5. And it really changes the search experience. It doesn't just give you links. It takes your question, kind of breaks it down into the underlying sub-questions, and searches for all of those simultaneously.
So instead of me clicking link after link, it does the synthesis part for me faster.
Precisely. It makes search feel much more conversational, and the sources suggest it's catching on. Where these AI overviews are live, they've already seen like a 10% jump in usage. Plus, Google's pushing it out globally, over 200 countries and territories now. And you're not just typing anymore. You can have this back and forth using text, sure, but also voice, or even images now.
Text, voice, and images, all integrated into how you interact with search.
Yeah, that covers a lot of ground. What about creative tools? I saw Google had something big for video generation.
Ah, yes. Veo 3, that's their new state-of-the-art video generation model.
Okay, state-of-the-art, that term gets used a lot. Based on your sources, what actually makes Veo 3 stand out? What can it do that was harder before? The key difference they're highlighting is its ability to make these high-quality 8-second videos with synchronized native audio, generated right alongside the video. Before, you'd often get video that maybe adds sound separately or get generic sound. Veo 3 generates the sound as part of the video creation. The idea is to democratize video creation. You describe a scene, it spits out something pretty polished, sound included, in seconds. That's a pretty big leap for creators who maybe don't have fancy editing skills or budgets.
Native audio generated with a video. Yeah, that definitely makes it feel more complete. And just quickly, they also tweaked some pricing for AI tools.
Yes. Sources mention new subscription tiers, an AI Pro tier around $20 a month, and an AI Ultra tier around $250 a month. Seems aimed at giving deeper access, especially to advanced tools, maybe like those for filmmaking.
Got it. All right, let's shift gears completely. Microsoft Build 2025. The big theme there seemed to be this idea of an agentic web. What exactly is that? What's the vision?
Right, this is where Microsoft is really pushing. Their vision is for an open agentic web. Basically, a world where specialized AI agents can operate much more autonomously, interacting across your personal tasks, within companies, and even between businesses.
So AI systems, not just answering a prompt, but actually going off and doing things more independently. How do they see multiple agents working together then?
that brings us to multi-agent orchestration. They showed this off within Copilot Studio. Instead of just one AI doing everything, you can build systems where different specialized agents collaborate. They communicate and coordinate through these shared orchestration layers. It's less like building individual apps, more like assembling and dissecting a team of expert digital workers, if that makes sense.
A team of AI agents collaborating.
Okay.
And Microsoft feels they're kind of uniquely set up to enable this agent economy.
They seem to think so. They pointed out that 15 million developers are already using GitHub Copilot. So they see themselves as providing the sort of foundational environment, almost the operating system, for this world where AI agents are key to building software and getting tasks done.
And speaking of GitHub Copilot, they made a move that, well, it seemed to surprise quite a few people in the developer world, didn't it?
They certainly did. It was a pretty notable shift from their usual playbook. Microsoft announced plans to open source GitHub Copilot, specifically the core parts that run inside Visual Studio Code, and they're contributing it to the main VS Code open source repository.
Open sourcing their flagship AI developer tool.
Wow.
For developers using VS Code day in, day out, what does that actually mean practically?
Well, the sources frame it as, commitment to transparency and community innovation, which is fair. But for the developer actually coding, open sourcing means they can potentially see the code, understand it better, maybe customize it, build things on top of it, and even contribute improvements back. It gives the community much more ownership and flexibility over a tool that, frankly, a lot of them rely on now. That's a big empowerment move.
Yeah, that definitely changes the dynamic between Microsoft and developers. And that connects to another thing they announced, creating an agent factory.
Correct. They rolled out enhanced features in Copilot Studio that basically let businesses build and manage these custom AI agents more easily. Companies can create specialized agents for their own needs using low-code tools, or, and this is pretty striking, even just using natural language prompts.
Building custom AI workers just by describing what you need them to do. That sounds like it lowers the barrier quite a bit, moving beyond just AI experts.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pivot again. Anthropic. They had some really significant news too, right? Both on capabilities and maybe crucially on safety.
That's right. Anthropic launched Claude Opus 4 during this time, and they made a pretty bold claim about it. They're calling it the best coding model in the world.
Best coding model. Okay, that's a high bar, especially with all the competition. What specifics did they point to back that up?
Beyond just coding, they really emphasized its ability to work autonomously for long stretches, specifically up to 7 hours, almost a full corporate workday. The model's designed for software development tasks that needed to keep track of context over a long time, reason through complex issues, and adapt based on feedback or new info during that period.
A 7-hour autonomous AI worker.
Wow!
That really does feel like a concrete step towards agents handling bigger multi-step projects without constant hand-holding. And on the safety front, Anthropic announced something genuinely new, didn't they?
Yes, and this is where it gets really interesting, and frankly, quite significant. Anthropic became the first company ever to announce they're deploying an AI model, presumably Opus 4 for certain high-risk uses, under what they call AI Safety Level 3 protections, ASL3.
ASL3. We hear a lot about safety, but a specific numbered level. What does ASL3 actually involve? What are these protections supposed to stop?
So ASL3 is a set of beefed-up security and operational measures. They're specifically designed to prevent the AI being misused to help develop chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear weapons CBRN threats. The measures include layered technical safeguards, things like special classifiers to detect harmful requests, controls on data leaving the system, like bandwidth limits, digital checkpoints, essentially. And it also includes procedural stuff, like needing 2 different people to authorize certain sensitive operations. It's about building multiple walls around these powerful models when they might touch on really high-risk domains.
Setting a new, quantifiable benchmark for AI safety, especially around those catastrophic misuse cases like CDRN. That feels incredibly important for the entire field. Okay, let's move to Perplexity. They've been focused on changing how we do research and synthesize info.
Right. Perplexity announced a new tool called Labs. It's for their Pro subscribers. And this tool pushes things further by letting users generate complex outputs directly from research. We're talking detailed reports, interactive spreadsheets, data dashboards, even functional web apps.
So not just summarizing the info, but actively using the research it does to create tangible things.
Exactly. And kind of echoing that autonomy trend we're seeing, The lab system itself can work autonomously for 10 minutes or even more on a task. It uses built-in tools to browse the web deeply, run code snippets, make charts, generate images, whatever it needs to produce that final output.
Autonomous research and generating the report or the app.
Yeah.
Yeah, that skips a lot of manual steps for researchers or analysts.
It builds on their existing deep research feature, which sources say is also still evolving. That feature, for example, can already run dozens of searches and read hundreds of sources to put together a comprehensive report in just like 2 to 4 minutes.
2 to 4 minutes.
Yeah.
For a report that might take a person hours, maybe days of manual searching and reading. You can see the efficiency boost there immediately, especially for knowledge work. Okay, stepping back a bit from the individual companies. This week also saw some really major business partnerships announced that kind of shift the whole landscape, right?
Absolutely. One of the biggest was definitely the XAI and Telegram partnership. Elon Musk's XAI announced this landmark $300 million deal with the messaging platform Telegram.
And what does that partnership really do for XAI and its Grok AI model?
It's just massive distribution. Simple as that. It puts Grok AI directly in front of Telegram's enormous user base, over 1 billion users globally. The deal itself involves $300 million cash and equity going to Telegram. Plus, Telegram gets a 50% cut of any revenue from XAI subscriptions sold through the app.
Putting an AI in front of 1 billion users practically overnight, yeah, that's a huge scaling move. Shows how companies are hunting for adoption. This week also seemed to really highlight the global competition heating up in AI development.
It definitely did. Our sources flagged that the Chinese AI startup DeepSeek released a pretty significant update to its main reasoning model, called R1 specifically, R10528.
And where does that update put DeepSeek, compared to US players like OpenAI or Google?
It really demonstrates China's continued rapid progress and competitiveness. This updated R1 model showed particularly strong results on key coding benchmarks. It actually placed ahead of several major US models on the live code bench leaderboard. It's a clear sign that, cutting-edge AI innovation isn't just happening in Silicon Valley.
That competition is definitely getting fierce across continents. Finally, there was a lot of focus across the board on developer tools and APIs this week. What stood out there?
Yeah, developers are clearly a huge focus. OpenAI, for instance, they launched GPT 4.5 into their API, and that model is now leading the web dev arena leaderboard again, that benchmark developers watch for coding skill. They also introduced new tools, like a dedicated responses API specifically for building agents, and new, cheaper models like O3 and O4 Mini. Gives developers more choice, different price points.
More specialized tools, more model options for devs. Okay. What about Mistral, the European company?
Mistral just kept up their incredibly fast release pace during that same week. We saw multiple significant updates, their own Agents API, something called Codestral Embed for code embedding, Mistral OCR 25.05 for reading text from images. These rapid-fire releases really underscore their focus on giving developers a constantly growing toolkit of specialized AI capabilities.
Okay, so if we look back at this really packed week in late May 2025, what are the big takeaways here? We clearly saw AI systems moving beyond just being like helpful assistants and starting to look more like autonomous workers, capabilities like that potential 7-hour work capacity from Claude Opus 4.
Yeah, but what's really fascinating is that right alongside that push for more autonomy and power, companies are also very actively grappling with safety. We saw Anthropic setting that totally new quantified benchmark with ASL3 specifically aimed at preventing really bad misuse cases.
Right. And if we connect all that to the bigger picture, the sheer scale of the partnerships, like Grok reaching over 1 billion users through Telegram, and the acceleration in developer tools. 15 million developers already on GitHub Copilot, which is now going open source. It really shows AI isn't just experimental anymore, is it? It's rapidly becoming, fundamental infrastructure.
Exactly. These developments together really signal a major transition. AI is becoming less about single apps and more about core capabilities that businesses will build on. The focus on autonomous agents, multi-agent systems, it suggests companies will increasingly weave AI directly into how they operate, maybe relying more on AI workflows than traditional software.
And all of this, it leads to a really interesting question for you listening right now. As these AI agents get more autonomous, better at complex tasks, and more deeply integrated into everything from search to business operations, how fundamentally is this going to change the way you work and interact with technology? Probably sooner than we think.